Hey guys, tonight we journey back to a world that hums softly with the rhythm of water, sun, and sand. You wake to the first pale light brushing the Nile, mist curling over its surface like a silk scarf tossed by some invisible hand. The air is cool but carries the faint, wet scent of mud and papyrus. You probably won't survive this, but let's wander anyway. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And, if you'd like, post your location and local time. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge barefoot along a narrow bank. The damp soil cooled beneath your feet, squelching softly with each step. The morning chorus begins. Frogs croak in the reeds. Birds, plump, iridescent, insistent call to one another, their wings flapping in the quiet air. Somewhere, a fisherman pushes his papyrus skiff through the shallow water, or tips slicing through mist, each stroke sending gentle ripples outward. You can feel the vibration in the soil, almost like the river itself is breathing. The sun stretches slowly, brushing your cheeks with warmth, yet you notice the sand clinging stubbornly to your damp feet, reminding you that the day will demand more than soft steps and quiet observation. Here, every motion is deliberate. The villagers around you start their routines. Pottery cracks under the potter's hand. Straw mats are rolled, and a donkey brays somewhere off the path. Historians still argue whether common Egyptians began their days this early out of necessity or reverence, but either way, you sense that time moves differently, here tied to the sun, the river, and an unspoken cadence of life. A faint scent of cooking drifts from a distant hut. The aroma is comforting bread, barley, maybe a hint of fish, though you know in a few hours the heat will turn it more pungent. You notice a soft, almost imperceptible breeze that brings the smell of the river itself, wet stone, algae, and that faint temps of fish scales. You wonder if the breeze carries stories. Perhaps yesterday's gossip lingers like fog over the water. Walking further, you step carefully over scattered reeds and smooth stones, the mud yielding under your weight. A small frog leaps from your path, startling you for a moment, and you smile softly, the sound of its splash echoing against the still river. Somewhere, a fisherman mutters curses at his stubborn net, or maybe it's blessings, you can't tell. The rhythm of their lives is strange, yet soothing, like a lullaby sung in a language you almost understand. As the sun climbs, the world takes on sharper lines, shadows shorten. You notice the detail in the reeds, the curve of papyrus stalks, and the shimmering wings of dragonflies skimming the surface. A small boat drifts lazily by, its occupant humming a tune that seems older than the river itself. You take a deep breath. The air is moist, thick with life, and yet there's a subtle tension beneath the calm. You are a visitor here, intruding on a rhythm perfected over millennia. A quirky detail catches your eye. A man uses crocodile dung as a kind of sunscreen, smearing it with careful precision across his nose and cheeks. You suppress a shiver and a smile. Ancient solutions, modern disgust, and yet it's oddly practical in a way you cannot ignore. Historians still argue whether this was effective or purely symbolic. You continue walking, imagining that same sun will burn your skin if you linger too long, making survival a careful negotiation with light itself. Birds, frogs, and distant splashes form a gentle, imperfect orchestra. You feel the river's pulse underfoot, the day stretching before you like a ribbon of possibility. Your eyes drift to the opposite bank. A child tosses stones, a dog splashes after a startled bird, and beyond them, the silhouette of papyrus huts stands firm, timeless, patient. You realize that this is the heartbeat of ancient Egypt. It is relentless, beautiful, and slightly unforgiving. You pause, letting the moment settle into your bones. The sun rises higher, warmth spreading, and the cool mud beneath your feet begins to dry, clinging stubbornly to your skin. Each breath is filled with history, water, earth, life, and the faint ghostly perfume of ritual yet to come. You realize that a day here is not just a measure of time, but an immersive negotiation with every sense you have. The soft hum of the river, the distant call of the fisherman, the small, absurd precautions, like crocodile dung sunscreen, all of it threads together a tapestry you are only beginning to understand. And, somewhere in the distance, a cat yawns lazily atop a sun-baked wall, indifferent to your careful tread. Perhaps it's wise. You envy it, just a little. Section to the market may step off the riverbank and into the market. The cobbled streets warm beneath your bare feet. The scent hits you immediately. Dried fish, spices, sweat, and the faint tang of clay from the pottery. Vendors call out, their voices rising and falling in a rhythm almost musical, trying to outshout one another, while a goat snuffles between stalls. Your nose twitches at the mix of aromas, a little too strong, a little intoxicating, and entirely mesmerizing. Every stall offers something strange and familiar at once. Baskets of dates glint like amber jewels. Linen scarves hang in perfect, sun-bleached folds. A man balances an enormous platter of roasted locusts, offering you one with a proud grin. You laugh softly, imagining modern etiquette meetings that would explode at such a suggestion. Historians still argue whether insects were a staple or just a seasonal snack, and you decide not to test the theory with your own stomach today. Children dart between your legs, barefoot and nimble, giggling and squealing as they chase a rolling clay ball. Somewhere, a woman haggles fiercely over a basket of figs, her voice rising to almost operatic heights before settling back into murmurs. You follow the rhythm, unconsciously matching your pace to the ebb and flow of people, goods, and the occasional bray of livestock. A curious smell rises from a corner stall, honey and beer mixed with faint smoke. You realize it is a brewer's booth, and the man behind it gestures for you to try a sip. Hesitating, you accept, and the thick liquid warms your chest. There is a sweetness, an earthy tang, a whisper of grains that might have been grown just a few kilometers from this spot. You marvel at how something so ordinary could feel almost magical in context. Small details keep catching your attention. A basket filled with polished stones, shaped like little animals. Charms to ward off evil eyes. A strangely intricate toy boat made from papyrus. You chuckle quietly. Some things never change. People have always loved miniature worlds. A vendor waves you over, offering a tiny perfume vial. He assures you it will make the sun kiss your skin gently rather than burn it. You smile. Ancient marketing has a subtle humor, and you can almost imagine a modern infomercial playing in your mind. Somewhere, a chicken flaps against a woven fence, feathers scattering like confetti. Historians still debate whether markets were mostly social hubs or purely commercial. You feel both. The noise, the smells, the textures, the persistent tug of curiosity in your chest. They create a world that is tactile, slightly overwhelming but hypnotic. Every step draws you deeper into a maze where history, life, and human quirks intertwined seamlessly. You notice an older man, seated cross-legged on a rug, tracing hieroglyphs into soft clay. He smiles faintly at your interest. Perhaps he is practicing messages to the gods or just doodling out of habit. The rhythm of his fingers against the clay is oddly soothing. Even amidst the chaos around you, by now the sun has climbed higher. Shadows shrink and elongate in quick succession, and the air grows heavier. You pause to sip water from a clay jar, tasting the coolness against your tongue, feeling it slide slowly down your throat. The market continues around you, buzzing and breathing like a living creature, somewhere near the spice stall. A man tips a small jar over, and powdered herbs cascade like golden sand. You laugh softly at the mess, the absurdity, the charm. Life here is messy, fragrant, and strangely gentle in its persistence. Section 3. The Pharaoh's Shader. You leave the bustling market behind, your footsteps echoing on sun-warmed stones as you approach the palace precincts. The air changes. It is heavier, touched with incense and polished stone, and there is a subtle rhythm to the guards' movements, a silent insistence that every step you take here matters. You can feel it even before the grand gates rise, before you the presence of a man whose word shapes life, whose gaze, even unseen, might guide your fate. The palace walls glint softly in the morning light, sun bouncing off limestone blocks, carved with stories older than most memories. Reliefs depict battles, offerings, and long-forgotten ceremonies. You brush your fingers along the cool stone, imagining the hands that carved them. The patience and devotional, perhaps the fear etched into every line. Historians still argue whether pharaohs ruled more by divine charisma or political acumen. But for you, the distinction fades into a single, undeniable sensation. Awe inside. The corridors stretch endlessly. Each archway frames another mosaic, another obelisk, another carefully positioned statue. The air smells faintly of oil and beeswax, and somewhere a servant sweeps, the bristles whispering against stone in a hypnotic rhythm. You trudge softly, careful not to disturb the invisible hierarchy that lingers in every shadow. A quirky detail grabs your attention, a carved relief of a pharaoh with a slightly oversized nose, rumored by later scribes to be a sign of his wisdom, or perhaps just the sculptor's sense of humor. You chuckle softly, feeling the tension ease a little. Even the most powerful rulers had quirks, and somehow that makes their imposing presence a little more relatable. You catch glimpses of priests moving in measured patterns, chanting in a language that vibrates in the chest more than the ears. You feel the soft pressure of ritual pressing down, not threatening, but insistent. The scent of incense curls around your senses, carrying with it the weight of centuries of devotion and spectacle. Every step you take seems to echo against the invisible hierarchy, reminding you that in the shadow of the pharaoh, every breath is a performance, even if you are only a visitor outside the inner chambers. Servants carry trays of food, figs, bread, and small cuts of meat prepared with meticulous care. You notice a subtle pattern in their movements, a choreography designed to please and anticipate every need of the ruler. And yet, a small bird flits carelessly through the corridor, indifferent to power. You smile at the absurdity reminder that life often persists in small, playful ways, even under immense authority. The pharaoh's shadow is not merely metaphorical. It falls over the streets, the homes, and the fields outside. Statues of him line entrances. Proclamations are etched into stone. The rhythm of life bends subtly, invisibly around the idea of his presence. Historians still argue whether such omnipresence was enforced through fear or admiration, but walking here, you can feel the quiet insistence in the air. You are never quite outside the shadow. A guard gives you a measured glance, eyebrows raised. You nod politely, feeling the weight of 1,000 invisible eyes. Somehow, you suspect that even a small misstep could ripple in ways you cannot predict. And yet, the sun streaming through the open windows, the gentle hum of distant prayers, and the faint laughter of children outside the palace gates soften the tension into a manageable curiosity. You continue walking, tracing the subtle outlines of hieroglyphs carved into doors, imagining the messages encoded in every line. Perhaps they are warnings, or blessings, or records of decisions made long ago. Somewhere, a cat curls on a marble ledge, eyes half shut, unbothered by protocol. You envy its calm composure, wishing you could adopt even a fraction of its serene disregard for power. As the day warms, the palace seems alive in small, quiet ways. A servant hums a low tune while polishing a brazier. A breeze shifts a curtain in a sunlit room, and the distant Nile glints through open windows. The rhythm of life continues, orchestrated by authority, yet softened by the details that make existence feel tangible, human, and oddly intimate. The shadow of the pharaoh lingers as you leave the inner chambers, brushing gently across your shoulders, reminding you that here, every day is a negotiation with power, reverence, and subtle humor, and that even a single day can feel like a lifetime if you are paying attention. Section 4. Mud, sun, and sweat stepping out into the open fields beyond the city. The sun greets you like an old, insistent friend. Its warmth presses against your skin immediately, sticky and patient, and the scent of dry earth mingles with the faint tang of river mud. You trudge along furrows where farmers have worked tirelessly, the soil soft and yielding beneath your feet. Already, you feel the subtle exhaustion of exertion, a slow, pervasive ache that is almost hypnotic. The labor here is relentless, but strangely rhythmic. The plow slices through damp mud, oxen pant softly, and hands your own and those around you rub against the grainy texture of earth. Sweat beads along your temples, trickles into your hairline, and you wipe it absent-mindedly on your linen tunic. Historians still argue whether workers were slaves or paid laborers, but whatever the case, the sun seems impartial to such debates. You pause to rest under the sparse shade of a solitary palm. The air shimmers in heat waves, and a faint buzz of insects reminds you that the world continues in microscopic detail even as human labor dominates the landscape. A farmer chuckles, tossing a handful of mud into the irrigation ditch just to see it splash. You smile softly, amused by the small, timeless humor. Every movement draws attention to sensation, the grit of sand under nails, the soft give of wet mud underfoot, the hot sun pressing on your back. You notice a particularly odd detail. Someone has tied a small piece of fabric to a stick in the field, claiming it keeps evil spirits, or maybe just birds away. You laugh quietly at the improvisation, marveling at human creativity in the face of relentless toil. The scent of fresh mud mixes with the faintly sour aroma of fermented barley left near the field edge, and you bend to inspect the irrigation channels. Water trickles sluggishly, carrying the life of the Nile into furrows lined with young crops. The cool flow against your skin is a sharp, comforting contrast to the sun's oppressive heat, reminding you that survival here is a careful negotiation of elements. Mud, Sun, sweat, and water. A light breeze rustles the stalks of grain, creating a soft, whispering sound. It's almost musical, and you pause, letting your hands trail along the tops of the plants, brushing them gently. Somewhere, a child runs past, laughing as a dog chases after a stray ball. You notice the faint, ironic humor of life continuing despite the weight of the sun and soil pressing down, even as you trudge, fatigue settling into your shoulders. You feel the slow satisfaction of being immersed in a world so tactile, so immediate. The sun, mud, and sweat shape every sense, creating a rhythm that is both exhausting and oddly comforting. You realize that a single day here is a test, a slow, patient lesson in endurance and attention. The heat intensifies as noon approaches, the sun climbing to its zenith, and you find a shallow depression in the field to sit. You watch shadows shrink, dust rise lazily, and the occasional bird swoop down to investigate. Somewhere in the distance, a man laughs at a clumsy ox, the sound carrying in sharp relief against the hum of the midday heat. The rhythm of labor, sunlight, and mud persists, softening into a hypnotic cadence. You sense that even a short day would leave you exhausted, but also deeply connected to the pulse of the land and the quiet endurance of those who have lived this life for centuries. You lift your gaze to the horizon, the Nile glinting faintly in the distance, and acknowledge the unrelenting, patient insistence of existence. Here mud, sun, and sweat intertwined like threads in a tapestry you are only beginning to feel. Section 5: Crocodiles and Water Woes. Step closer to the Nile's edge. The muddy banks soft beneath your feet, and the smell of wet vegetation fills your nostrils. The river seems calm now, a mirror of liquid glass reflecting the morning sun, but you know better. Beneath its surface, danger waits, subtle and patient. Crocodiles lurk with the quiet confidence of kings, and the occasional ripple hints at life moving just out of sight. You trudge slowly, aware of every splash and whisper of water. The locals move with familiarity you cannot imitate. Children skim stones across the surface, their laughter ringing lightly in the humid air, oblivious to the unseen jaws below. Women wash linen in gentle swirls, their hands stirring water into soft eddies. The scent of soapwort and clay rises in mingled waves. You note that the river is both a giver and a taker of life, a duality that is almost hypnotic in its subtlety. Historians still argue whether crocodiles were more feared or revered in daily practice. But you do not need their verdict to feel the tension creeping along your spine. A fisherman casts his net, moving with deliberate grace, and you notice his confidence. He steps over slick stones with ease, his bare feet resistant to the bite of mud. You imitate, hesitating, feeling the cool water lap your ankles, sending shivers up your spine. A tiny fish darts between your toes, its scales brushing your skin like soft silk. You chuckle softly, imagining the shock of someone from modern times learning this tactile intimacy with the river. Somewhere nearby, a peculiar superstition unfolds. A small offering floats in the water, a piece of bread perhaps, intended to appease the river gods or distract crocodiles. You watch it drift, imagining a crocodile pausing to inspect this gesture, and cannot help but laugh quietly at the charm of human ingenuity in the face of mortal danger. The riverbank is alive with subtle sounds, the gentle swish of reeds, the faint plop of fish jumping, and the occasional sharp caw of a heron taking flight. The texture of wet mud clings to your fingers as you scoop it into small shapes, testing the coolness against your skin. Every sensation reminds you that life here is tactile, intimate, and inherently risky. You wander along a narrow path where the water laps higher against stone embankments. The sun warms your back, the river cools your feet, and a soft breeze carries the faint aroma of distant papyrus huts. A small boat drifts lazily by, oars tied to its side, carrying a single figure humming a tune you almost recognize. The melody blends with water, wind, and bird calls, creating a slow, meditative rhythm that lulls you into calm awareness, even as the potential threat of a crocodile remains unspoken. Nearby, a woman gathers water in clay jars, humming softly to keep the rhythm of her labor. You notice the careful way she avoids deep patches, the subtle dance of survival embedded in every motion. The water glints with sunlight, and a tiny ripple hints at a lurking fish, or perhaps the tail of a submerged crocodile. You pause, heart ticking slightly faster, then release a gentle laugh. Adaptation is as much a part of life here as breathing. The river is more than danger. It is sustenance, ritual, and play. Children practice small skiffs, fishermen mend nets, and women sprinkle offerings. Somewhere, a priest might murmur a blessing, reminding everyone that the Nile is sacred, capricious, and patient. You feel the paradox, comfort and caution woven into each gesture, each careful step along its banks. As you trace the mud and water, you notice small details, an insect skimming the surface, a piece of reeds caught in eddies, a tiny fish darting close to the shore. Each element hums quietly in concert with life around it. The subtle humor of human superstition mingles with the undeniable facts of the river's power, creating a world that is tactile, alive, and gently suspenseful. By midday, the sun climbs higher, warming your skin and glinting off the water's surface. You sit for a moment, letting the river's pulse carry you, appreciating its duality, danger and life, humor and ritual, immediacy and calm. You realize that to survive even a single day here, you must honor the water, respect its rhythms, and walk slowly, deliberately, as if every step is part of a centuries-old dance. Section 6. The cooking conundrum. You wander toward the village, guided by smoke curling lazily from clay ovens and the faint scent of grain and roasting meat. The air is warm, slightly oily, and carries the comforting, sticky scent of bread baking. You trudge past mud brick huts, the stone floor beneath your feet smooth from years of footsteps, each one whispering secrets of meals prepared and shared. Historians still argue how often meat was consumed versus staples like bread and beer. But the aroma alone convinces you that food here is a daily miracle. A woman STIs a pot, steam curling over the rim in lazy spirals. She hums softly, almost inaudibly, and you notice the rhythmic movements of her hand, stirring not just ingredients, but centuries of culinary tradition. You'll lean closer, careful to avoid the heat, and inhale deeply. There is the sweet temps of fermented barley, the smoky whisper of roasted fish, and a faint, curious aroma of herbs you cannot immediately identify nearby. A man kneads dough, slapping it against a flat stone with precision. Flour dust rises in tiny clouds, settling softly on your arms. He laughs at your clumsy attempt to imitate him, a gentle, teasing sound that blends with the crackle of the oven fire. Somewhere in the corner, a child carefully rolls small dough balls, the beginnings of sweet treats that will vanish quickly in eager hands. The process is mesmerizing. Soft sounds, clay scraping, dough slapping, fire crackling merge into a slow, hypnotic rhythm. You feel almost meditative, tracing the shapes of pots, the roughness of wooden tools, the smooth heat of earthen ovens. A quirky detail draws your attention. Someone has added dates to bread, a mixture historians still debate as being for flavor or ritual significance. You smile, imagining your own modern palate adapting or failing to these ancient textures. A faintly odd smell drifts past. A small bowl of fermented fish sauce, pungent yet oddly necessary. You wrinkle your nose but notice the villagers handle it with casual familiarity, sprinkling it over dishes as naturally as you might salt bread. Humor touches the moment, an experiment in taste, a cultural curiosity, and a gentle reminder that culinary bravery has always been part of human life. You taste a small piece of bread, the crust warm against your tongue, the inside soft and slightly tangy. Beer, thick and sweet, follows, coating your throat in gentle warmth. Each bite is a sensory lesson in survival, rhythm, and subtle pleasure. Somewhere in the background, the hum of chatter, the clink of clay, and the gentle barking of a dog create a soothing soundscape, slow and comforting. Outside the hut, the sun casts long shadows, painting the village in gold and ochre. You notice small improvisations, clay vessels repurposed, utensils fashioned from reeds, a lid that doesn't quite fit but works well enough. Survival is woven through each meal, each breath, and you feel the gentle humor in human adaptation. Even thousands of years ago, the cooking continues as you linger, tracing the smells, the textures, the gentle chaos of sustenance. You realize that food here is not just nourishment. It is ritual, comedy, and history folded into a daily performance. Each pot, each loaf, each sip of beer tells a story of adaptation, resilience, and quiet pleasure as you step away. The aroma of bread and roasted fish lingers in your hair, the warmth of the oven soft against your skin, and a subtle comfort settles into your chest. The village, the river, the sun all conspire to remind you that even amidst the struggle of daily survival, life can be tender, aromatic, and gently humorous. Section 7. Clothing and creepy cosmetics. You step into the soft, bustling chaos of a village lane, linen robes brushing lightly against your legs, the fabric rough yet surprisingly airy. The sun warms your shoulders, and you notice how different the world feels in these garments. The clothing seems simple, but there is an elegance to its practicality. You tug at the tunic, realizing it is both a shield against the sun and a trap for heat. A paradox that makes survival here a delicate negotiation. People pass you, barefoot or in sandals, their movements confident and accustomed. You notice small touches, dyed sashes, knotted belts, and the occasional decorative bead catching sunlight. A child giggles as a dog tumbles past, the faint jingle of a bell accentuating the rhythm of daily life. Historians still debate whether linen was worn primarily for comfort, status, or ritual significance, but for you, it feels like armor against the sun and dust, both protective and suffocating in turn. A woman pauses nearby, her hands deftly applying kohl around her eyes. The black pigment traces delicate lines, enhancing her gaze, and you realize it is both cosmetic and practical, a shield against the glare of the desert sun. A soft breeze carries the faint scent of crushed minerals and oils, earthy and slightly sweet. You watch curiously as she smooths the edges, creating symmetry that has endured for millennia. A quirky, Slightly unsettling detail catches your attention. Someone has smeared a small dab of crocodile dung onto their nose, claiming it shields from the sun and spirits alike. You suppress a shiver and a chuckle, imagining modern sunscreen commercials featuring ancient ingredients. Yet the practice seems to work, at least socially, if not scientifically. Survival here is as much about cultural adaptation as it is about physical endurance. You trudge past a marketplace, stall displaying sandals of papyrus and woven leather. The rough textures scrape softly against your fingers as you examine them. A man offers you a pair, but you decline politely, feeling the tug of humor and practicality mixed together. The sandals, he assures you, will protect your feet from the scorching sand while remaining breathably an ancient engineering marvel. If nothing else, the sun climbs higher. The fabric of your tunic sticking slightly to your back, reminding you that comfort is fleeting. You dab at sweat with the hem, inhaling the mingled scent of dust, linen, and faint oils. A group of children dart past, their bare feet pattering against the stone. And you wonder if their resilience is innate or trained by necessity. Somewhere, a man laughs quietly at a reflection in a water jar, noticing his own smudged cosmetics. You join in, the gentle humor softening the heat and dust. Life here seems a delicate balance. Sun, wind, fabric, ritual, and small absurdities all coexisting in quiet harmony. Historians still argue whether elaborate makeup indicated social status, religious observance, or practical sun protection, but to you, it feels like a patchwork of intention, culture, and survival. You pass another woman who adjusts a belt tied tightly around her waist, linen folds falling in precise layers. The tactile details, the brushing of fabric against skin, the soft tug of a sash, the coolness of mineral pigments create a slow, meditative awareness of your own body. Even small movements become exercises in coordination, adaptation, and observation. A gentle breeze stirs, lifting the edge of your tunic and ruffling your hair. You inhale deeply, catching hints of baked bread, wet clay, and the faint musk of the Nile drifting nearby. The world feels intensely sensory, each element shaping your perception. The rough linen against your legs, the warmth of the sun, the faintly strange but protective smell of cosmetics. By midnight, the village is alive with motion, children racing, women tending fires, men adjusting woven hats against the sun. The clothes and cosmetics are more than adornment. They are extensions of the body, tools for survival, and markers of identity. You realize that living here is a negotiation with sensation itself. Texture, heat, scent, and ritual intertwine, creating a rhythm that is both challenging and hypnotic. You pause to smooth your tunic, tracing the seams with gentle attention. The day presses on, sun warming your skin, fabric clinging to sweat, pigments faintly dusting your fingers. Small details, child's laughter, a soft brush of fabric. The scent of oils combine into a slow, comforting awareness of life in motion. Survival here, you note with soft amusement, is as much about noticing these small rhythms as enduring the heat, mud, and dust. Section 8, Temple Time. You approach the temple, its entrance framed by towering columns carved with hieroglyphs that seem to glow in the soft afternoon light. The stone floor beneath your feet is cool, in stark contrast to the warmth of the air outside. Incense drifts gently, curling in lazy spirals and carrying the faint sweetness of frankincense and myrrh. The atmosphere is serene yet commanding, inviting reverence without demanding panic. Inside, priests move slowly, their feet sliding silently across polished stone. Their chants fill the air, soft and repetitive, vibrating in your chest as much as in your ears. You follow them quietly, careful to keep pace, noticing the rhythm in their gestures, the subtle tap of a staff, the gentle sweep of robes, the measured bow of a head. Historians still debate the precise function of many temple rituals, but you sense the power in the repetition, the order, and the weight of centuries of devotion. A quirky detail catches your eye. A small statue of a cat perched on a side altar, its eyes inlaid with shiny stone. Somewhere in the temple, someone has whispered a joke about the cat stealing the offerings. You smile softly, the gentle humor easing the intensity of the sacred space. Ritual and whimsy coexist here, layered and delicate. You move deeper into the halls, inhaling the mix of incense, dust, and stone. Light filters through narrow windows, falling in golden shafts that illuminate carved reliefs of gods, kings, and offerings. Each image tells a story, some clear, some enigmatic, and you trace the lines with slow fingers, imagining the hands that carved them and the devotion or duty that motivated each stroke. Outside, the temple courtyard hums faintly with activity. Novices practice chants. Water flows gently in stone basins, and birds perch quietly on ledges. You sense the temple as both a spiritual center and a community hub, a place where sacred duty intersects with daily life. A soft breeze carries the scent of flowers brought as offerings, blending seamlessly with incense and dust. You pause at a shrine, noting the intricacies of the carvings. A priest notices your attention and nods slightly, a quiet acknowledgement of your respect. You take a breath, feeling the cool stone beneath your fingertips and the warmth of sun through high windows. Somewhere, a small lamp flickers, casting shadows that dance like whispers across the walls. The air is alive with subtle sound, the low hum of chanting, the soft footfalls of attendants, the distant ripple of water. Each sound blends with the tactile sensations of stone, cool air and faint fragrance, creating a slow, immersive rhythm that is both meditative and gently hypnotic. You notice small, human touches, a dropped feather brushed gently aside, a novice murmuring a line incorrectly and laughing softly, incense ashes scattered carefully on the floor. Life in the temple is not rigid. It is alive, layered, and unexpectedly tender. Historians still debate whether the everyday functions of the temple were more political or spiritual. But for you, the distinction dissolves. The chants, the stones, the incense, and the human gestures form a delicate ecosystem of devotion and routine. You move slowly, letting the rhythm of temple life guide your senses, feeling both grounded and gently suspended in time. The sun begins to tilt, casting long shadows across the floor. You linger a moment longer, inhaling deeply, feeling the cool air on your skin, the faint warmth of incense, and the echo of chants vibrating softly in your chest. Temple time, you realize, is not just about worship, is a full immersion in rhythm, detail, and the quiet intimacy of centuries-old practices. Section 9. Disease and doctoring you. Leave the temple's calm corridors and make your way toward the village clinic, or at least what passes for one in this sun-drenched landscape. The air carries a mix of earthy sense mud, clay, herbs, and the faint metallic temps of water from the Nile. You trudge carefully over uneven ground. Every step, a reminder that your modern muscles are unused to this terrain. Around you, villagers go about their routines. A soft hum of life continuing despite illness, injury, or fatigue. You notice small clusters of people seated around shaded areas, tending to minor wounds or adjusting bandages made from linen strips. The cool touch of wet cloth and the subtle, fragrant herbs provide relief and reassurance. You watch a healer carefully crush leaves, releasing a faint, pungent aroma that is somehow both medicinal and slightly strange. Historians still argue about the efficacy of many ancient remedies, but even a gentle touch can soothe the mind. If not the body, a quirky detail catches your eye. A tiny amulet shaped like a beetle hangs around a patient's neck. The healer murmurs softly, suggesting it will ward off invisible spirits of illness. You smile, noticing the delicate humor in the ritual. Medicine and superstition woven together, almost inseparable in daily practice. The scent of crushed herbs mingles with the warmth of the sun, creating a slow, meditative rhythm as you watch. You trudge closer, feeling the uneven texture of mud beneath your feet, and notice a line of jars containing powders, pastes, and dried plants. Each one has a purpose, or at least a suggested one. You pick up a small jar, feeling the weight in your hand, inhaling the faintly sweet, earthy aroma. Somewhere, a child plays with a small clay figure, oblivious to the faint coughs and wheezes around him, reminding you that life persists despite fragility. The healer's hands move with careful precision, tracing symbols over a patient's skin, mixing ointments and murmuring low words. A faint breeze carries the scent of burnt herbs from a small fire nearby, combining with sun-warmed clay and the occasional sharp temps of vinegar. You notice the odd humor in some treatments. A poultice of honey and mud applied to a rash, a whispered incantation for a stubborn cough, a soft laugh when a patient sneezes unexpectedly. Survival here is a delicate blend of observation, intuition, and ritualized care. You trudge along, listening to faint conversations between healer and patient. The language is soft, measured, and intimate. Fingers trace along limbs, applying salves with care, occasionally adjusting linen wraps with gentle precision. You feel the tactile rhythm, the soft scratch of herbs against skin, the cool damp of cloth, the warmth of sun and human touch. It is oddly hypnotic, almost like a slow lullaby in sensation and sound. A particularly unusual practice catches your attention. A small tablet of lead inscribed with protective words is tied to a child's wrist. The healer claims it will shield the wearer from illness. You cannot help but chuckle quietly, imagining the subtle intersection of fear, hope, and humor that guides every action. Historians still debate the scientific understanding of disease in ancient Egypt, but you sense that intention, ritual, and gentle touch are as important as herbs and salves. The village hums gently in the background, dogs pant softly, water trickles from clay jars, and a bird flits across a sunlit wall. You inhale deeply, feeling the warmth on your skin, the scent of herbs, and the subtle rhythm of life persisting amidst vulnerability. Every step, every gesture, seems measured and deliberate. A dance between fragility and endurance. As the sun climbs higher, you feel the weight of history pressing softly against your consciousness, hands that healed, whispered prayers, and remedies passed down across centuries. You trudge slowly, mindful of each texture, each smell, each subtle sound, realizing that survival in this world is as much about presence and observation as it is about strength or knowledge. By mid, you pause under the shade of a palm, brushing mud from your fingers, inhaling the faintly sweet and pungent scents lingering on your skin. The gentle hum of life continues, reassuring in its constancy. You sense the quiet humor, the care, and the resilience embedded in every gesture of doctoring, every whispered prayer, and every cautious step along sun-warmed streets. Section 10 Beasts at your side, you wander through the village, the heat of mid-afternoon pressing softly against your skin, and notice the subtle presence of animals woven into daily life. Cats stretch lazily along sun-warmed walls, their fur glinting in soft orange and gold tones, while dogs pant quietly, tails thumping against the dirt floor. You trudge carefully, careful not to startle them, aware that these creatures are both companions and helpers in the rhythm of survival. A donkey brays softly in the distance, swishing its tail to ward off persistent flies. You approach a small pen where goats nibble lazily at scraps, their noses moist and soft against your hand. Historians still debate whether certain animals were purely utilitarian, sacred, or companions, but to you, each creature feels like a small, breathing partner in the daily negotiation of life. A quirky moment arises as a cat bats lazily at a small ball of yarn someone has dropped, entirely oblivious to the bustle around it. You laugh softly, imagining the cat as a miniature philosopher, judging the absurdity of human concern from its sun-drenched perch. The rhythm of life, you realize, is shared across species, an unspoken understanding of food, shade, and occasional affection. You notice chickens scratching in the dirt, scattering grains and clucking softly. Their movements create a slow, gentle percussion, blending with distant laughter, the hum of the Nile, and the whisper of wind through reeds. Each animal seems attuned to the same subtle patterns that govern human life. The sun, the river, the sounds and scents that signal time and rhythm. A dog nudges your hand, seeking attention. You scratch behind its ears, feeling the warmth and softness against your palm. Somewhere nearby, a man moves carefully with a herd of cattle, guiding them with low whistles and gentle taps. You notice the careful balance of authority and patience in his gestures, a reminder that even creatures that seem wild are integrated into the pulse of human routine. Small, almost imperceptible details catch your attention. A bird lands briefly on a child's shoulder. A goat nibbles at a cloth fluttering in the breeze. A cat slinks along the edge of a wall, eyes half closed. Each presence reminds you that survival here is multisensory and interconnected. The animals are not background, they are part of the ecosystem of daily life. You trudge past a small courtyard where a boy is teaching a young cat to chase a string. The sound of laughter mingles with soft mews, creating a gentle, hypnotic rhythm. You notice the subtle humor, the small improvisations, and the quiet persistence that defines both human and animal behavior. Survival here, you realize, is shared food, warmth, companionship, and mutual observation. The sun tilts softly toward late afternoon, casting long shadows across the village. You pause near a well where animals drink alongside villagers, tails flicking and water rippling. The tactile sensation of cool water, the warmth of sun-baked stone, and the faint sounds of mewing, braying, and laughter create a slow, comforting cadence. By the time you rise, the rhythm of animals at your side has settled gently into your awareness. You feel the subtle interplay of live fur, feathers, hooves, and human touch woven seamlessly into the tapestry of survival. Even the quirkiest behaviors, the playful mischief of a goat or the lazy stretch of a cat, remind you that life here is both demanding and tenderly humorous. Section 11, Sands of Entertainment. to wander toward a shaded plaza where the faint strains of music drift softly in the afternoon air. The sun is dipping slightly, warm and gentle, casting long shadows across the sand and stone. You trudge slowly, absorbing the rhythm of drums and flutes, their vibrations mingling with the faint chatter of villagers and the distant murmur of the Nile. The music is slow, meditative, almost hypnotic, inviting your senses to drift along its gentle waves. A group of children plays a ball game nearby, laughter ringing like soft bells across the plaza. You pause, noticing how the game mirrors modern simplicity, chasing, throwing, and the thrill of small competition. A small dog darts through the circle, scattering sand in tiny clouds. Historians still debate whether these games were purely for fun, ritualized, or a combination of both. But to you, the spectacle feels timeless, a gentle thread connecting centuries of human amusement. A musician strums a lyre, the soft twang blending with wind, sand, and faint murmurs from passers-by. You sit on a sun-warmed stone bench, feeling the coolness of shadows creeping along your legs. Nearby, dancers sway slowly, their movements deliberate and graceful, feet tracing patterns in the sand that mimic ripples of the river. A quirky detail catches your attention. One performer wears a mask of a crocodile, and though slightly absurd, it brings a smile to your face. The humor as subtle as the desert breeze. The scents of the plaza mingle sweet figs, roasted grains, and the faint tang of fish from the nearby market. You inhale slowly, feeling the textures of sound, smell, and movement intertwining. A man juggles small clay balls, tossing them with gentle precision, occasionally tipping one with a playful flick. You notice the soft laughter that follows, a delicate punctuating sound that reminds you that even amidst labor and survival, joy persists. You watch a small troupe acting out a story, gestures fluid, voices soft yet insistent. Their narrative, partially clear and partially mysterious, is accompanied by tambourines and the rhythmic stomp of bare feet on sand. You feel the subtle interplay of tradition and improvisation, of storytelling as both education and entertainment. Historians still debate the societal function of these performances, whether moral instruction, ritual, or leisure, but you are content to absorb the sensory tapestry. A gentle breeze lifts dust in soft curls, mingling with the scent of flowers carried from nearby gardens. You close your eyes briefly, listening. A flute's high note pierces the low hum of conversation. A drum beats slowly, and a child's laughter rings out with crystal clarity. The slow rhythm, the deliberate cadence, and the soft humor of games and performances settle into your chest like a warm, invisible blanket. Nearby, a man demonstrates a small board game, sliding pieces across carved grids, explaining rules in hushed tones. You lean closer, noticing the texture of the pieces, the slight scratch of wood against stone. The detail is hypnotic, drawing you in, and you realize that even games, music, and dance are immersive, multisensory experiences. A gentle counterpoint to labor and survival. You watch as performers and spectators mingle seamlessly, creating a slow, fluid rhythm of life. Somewhere, a child tries to imitate a dance move awkwardly, and the gentle humor of failure draws soft laughter from the group. The sensory layering sight, sound, smell, touch creates a hypnotic atmosphere, almost ASMR in its subtle, immersive quality. The sun dips lower, golden light spilling across sand and stone, brushing against your skin, warming it softly as shadows lengthen. You notice the subtle scent of fire from distant cooking areas blending with sweet figs and earthy grains. Entertainment here is not separate from life. It is woven into every sense, a slow, calming, gently humorous meditation on human expression. As dusk approaches, the rhythms soften. Drums quiet, flutes linger, and laughter fades into the gentle rustle of evening wind. You breathe in slowly, feeling the pulse of human creativity, play, and gentle improvisation settling comfortably into your consciousness. Even the smallest gestures, a tossed ball, a crooked dance step, a soft jingle of jewelry, remind you that life here is a continuous, tactile experience. Section 12. Nightfall, and fear the sun dips fully below the horizon, painting the village and river in shades of gold, lavender, and deep indigo. You trudge softly along narrow streets, the warmth of the day slowly leaving your skin. Shadows deepen and stretch across mud brick walls, transforming familiar paths into subtle mysteries. You notice the faint hum of cicadas and the gentle rustle of reeds, sounds that seem both comforting and vaguely unsettling in the dim light. The air carries the scent of cooling earth, fires burning low in cooking pits, and the occasional aromatic trace of incense from the temple. You inhale slowly, letting the mix of fragrances settle gently. Night is a rhythm unto itself, slower, quieter, and tinged with the awareness that unseen creatures and forces share the same space. Historians still argue whether nocturnal rituals were widespread or confined to elites. But the tension in the evening air is undeniable. A soft wind lifts dust in gentle swirls, brushing your ankles, and you notice how the familiar textures of the daystone, mud, cloth change in the muted light. Somewhere nearby, a child stirs, frightened by a sudden noise. You pause, realizing how vulnerable senses are at night. Shadows lengthen, ordinary shapes twist, and your imagination fills in gaps with subtle caution. Lanterns flicker in doorways, casting warm, wavering circles on walls. The rhythm of light and shadow creates a hypnotic cadence, drawing attention to corners and edges. You catch sight of a cat slinking silently along the roof, eyes glowing faintly in reflection, reminding you that even creatures adapt gracefully to the night's uncertainty. A quirky, slightly amusing detail surfaces. Someone has tied a small charm to a doorway, claiming it will ward off spirits, stray animals, or perhaps just bad dreams. You laugh softly, noticing how humor persists even in rituals tinged with fear. The human need for protection and reassurance, magical or mundane, is timeless. A quiet echo through centuries. The river reflects the fading colors of the sky, its surface gentle yet carrying a latent awareness of unseen crocodiles beneath. You feel a subtle shiver at the duality. Beauty and danger coexist, woven seamlessly into the fabric of nightly life. The rhythm of the river's surface, the whisper of reeds, and the soft crackle of dying fires create a slow, immersive cadence. Calming yet alerting your senses, you walk past narrow alleys, hearing distant laughter, soft conversation, and the gentle clink of clay vessels. Each sound is magnified in the stillness, layered with your own heartbeat. You note the subtle tension between curiosity and caution, a dance that guides each step you take. Historians still debate the psychological impact of darkness on ancient villages, but for you, the night feels both protective and challenging, a quiet teacher of attentiveness. You pause to inhale deeply, the cool air brushing your face, carrying faint scents of cooked grains, damp mud, and sweet herbs. The sensory layering is rich, yet gentle, each detail contributing to a slow, reflective awareness. Somewhere, a dog whines softly in the distance, its voice blending with the rustle of night insects, creating a lullaby of subtle concern and comfort. As darkness deepens, the village slows. Steps soften, voices quiet, and the world seems to fold in on itself, revealing hidden textures, muted colors, and subtle sounds that were invisible in daylight. You sense the pervasive hum of life, the gentle acknowledgement of fear, and the quiet resilience that shapes survival. By the time you settle on a stone bench to watch the stars emerge, the night has softened into a gentle, immersive rhythm. The air is cooler, the scents more subtle, and the soft, quiet sounds of village life create a slow, calming pattern. Even the faint tension of unknown nocturnal dangers blends into the hypnotic cadence, reminding you that fear and comfort coexist seamlessly in this ancient world. Section 13, Writing and Whispered. Secrets. You wander into a quiet courtyard. The sun now fully replaced by the soft glow of evening. Clay tablets, papyrus scrolls, and red pens lie scattered across low tables, and the faint smell of ink made from soot and gum mingles with the cooling air. You trudge carefully over the uneven stones, mindful of the soft scrape of your sandals, as though each step might disturb a centuries-old secret waiting to be read. A scribe dips his reed pen into ink, tracing slow, deliberate hieroglyphs across papyrus. Each symbol is precise, almost musical in its formation. You lean closer, feeling the soft texture of paper beneath your fingers, the smooth glide of ink, and the faint stickiness of dried moisture. Historians still debate how widespread literacy truly was in ancient Egypt, but you sense the intimacy and reverence imbued in every written line. Nearby, a child mimics the adult scribes, pressing hieroglyphs into soft clay. You watch the tiny hand, the focused frown, and the occasional errant mark that draws a quiet chuckle. A quirky detail emerges. Some scribes included hidden jokes or small doodles in the margins of scrolls, a subtle humor woven into official records. You smile softly, imagining the faint thrill of discovery centuries later. The courtyard is alive with sound, the scratch of reed on papyrus, the whisper of sandals against stone, and the occasional murmur of conversation. You notice a gentle breeze lifting the edges of scrolls, teasing them like the soft, inquisitive fingers of time. The tactile nature of writing, inking, rolling, pressing, smoothing creates a slow, mesmerizing rhythm that engages every sense. You trudge toward a low table where several small scrolls are stacked. Each one tells a story, a record, a secret, or a transaction. You pick one up, tracing the characters slowly. There is a subtle intimacy in the act, as though reading is both a privilege and a delicate intrusion. Somewhere, a scribe murmurs a story of yesterday's market, laughing quietly at a small misadventure, blending the personal with the permanent. A faint, curious detail, a tiny notation in red ink at the corner of a scroll suggests a joke, or perhaps a warning. You tilt your head, trying to interpret it, aware that some meanings have been lost to time. The rhythm of writing, marking, erasing, pressing, reading creates a hypnotic cadence, both soothing and mentally engaging. Historians still debate the exact purposes of certain marginalia, but for you, the sensation is immediate and tactile. The sun sets fully, and the courtyard glows in the soft light of oil lamps. Shadows dance along walls, bringing relief to the eyes and a soft ambience to the mind. You inhale deeply, smelling ink, papyrus, and the faint, comforting earthiness of clay. Somewhere, a small animal rustles nearby, and the subtle humor of its tiny mischief draws a quiet smile. You notice how the act of writing, so deliberate, so textured, connects daily life with eternity. Messages, jokes, instructions, and secrets are woven together, forming a network of human thought that persists even as the day fades. The rhythm is soft, tactile, and quietly mesmerizing, carrying you gently into contemplative calm. By the time you step back, the scrolls and tablets have left a subtle impression on your senses. The soft drag of reed pens, the faint smell of ink, the cool touch of papyrus, and the quiet rhythm of human communication. Whispered secrets, hidden jokes, and deliberate records combine into a delicate, immersive world where observation, patience, and gentle curiosity are survival skills as crucial as water or bread. Section 14, Festivals and Follies, trudge toward the central plaza once more, where the air is thick with excitement, color, and soft, pulsating rhythm. The villagers have gathered, and the scents of roasted grains, sweet fruits, and fragrant oils mingle like an invisible tapestry. You notice the slow cadence of drums and flutes, the gentle sway of dancers, and the occasional burst of laughter rising above it all. Children weave between adults, carrying small masks or bells, their bare feet pattering softly against stone and sand. You pause to watch a performer balancing on a low platform, juggling clay balls with soft precision. Historians still debate the exact social and religious functions of festivals, but you sense that they serve multiple purposes: entertainment, ritual, and gentle release of tension. A quirky, humorous detail emerges. A man wearing an oversized mask of a falcon trips slightly, recovering with exaggerated flair. The audience chuckles softly, and you join in, feeling the subtle, comforting absurdity of human play persisting across millennia. The rhythm of sound, movement, and laughter is hypnotic, soft enough to calm, yet engaging enough to sustain attention. You trudge slowly along the edges of the plaza, inhaling the warm, fragrant air. Women carry trays of small offerings, dates, bread, and tiny figurines, while the faint aroma of roasted meat drifts from distant cooking pits. You notice the textures underfoot: warm sand, smooth stone, and scattered petals that crunch softly beneath your careful steps. Music swells as dancers move in patterned sequences, their movements echoing stories of gods, kings, and heroic feats. The sound of tambourines punctuates the slow pulse of drums, blending with flutes and the quiet murmur of conversation. You feel immersed in the multisensory experience. Sound, touch, sight, and scent converge into a gentle ASMR-like rhythm that lulls both body and mind nearby. Children playfully imitate adult gestures, their movements awkward yet precise in their earnestness. A small dog weaves through the crowd, nudging a clay ball and drawing soft laughter. The juxtaposition of ritualized performance and spontaneous play creates a layered texture that is both hypnotic and calming. A subtle breeze stirs, lifting scarves, petals, and sand in gentle swirls. You inhale deeply, noticing how scent and motion complement the visual spectacle. Historians still puzzle over certain ceremonial dances, whether symbolic, religious, or purely celebratory, but the effect on your senses is immediate, immersive, and slightly whimsical. You notice the gentle humor embedded in minor mishaps, a misbalanced mask, a dropped instrument, a child misstepping mid-dance. Each moment adds texture, a quiet reminder that life, ancient or modern, is both structured and delightfully unpredictable. As the sun dips lower, golden light painting long shadows across the plaza, you feel the festival's rhythm seeping into your body, the soft beat of drums, the sway of dancers, the gentle laughter of participants. You sense the delicate interplay of tradition, play, and sensory immersion that defines these gatherings, settling slowly into a calm, hypnotic awareness. By evening's end, the scents, sounds, and textures fade gently, leaving only a soft memory of rhythm, humor, and subtle ceremony. The village exhales softly, and you feel a quiet, comforting connection to the pulse of life. Hero rhythm, ancient, enduring, and gently hypnotic. Section 15. Sleep and Shadows. Night fully settles over the village, soft and velvety, wrapping stone, mud, and river in quiet darkness. You trudge along narrow lanes, feeling the subtle cool of earth underfoot and the faint chill of evening air brushing against your skin. The stars glimmer overhead, distant yet intimate, as if whispering stories from centuries past. Somewhere, a dog sighs softly, and a cat curls on a low wall, eyes half indifferent to the vast expanse of time and space around you. The village is hushed, but life continues in small, gentle motions. Fires burn low in clay ovens, flickering against mud brick walls. Water jars glint faintly in the starlight. A faint murmur drifts from the temple where a night priest maintains watch, the rhythmic repetition of whispered words blending with the soft chorus of nocturnal insects. Historians still debate whether nightly rituals were purely spiritual or also a means of social cohesion, but the effect is subtle and mesmerizing. You pause by a doorway, noticing the textures of the cool stone beneath your hands, the faint smell of burnt incense lingering from evening offerings, and the whisper of silk-like fabrics brushing against your legs. A small child stirs quietly nearby, comforted by the soft presence of a parent. Their shared warmth, a quiet anchor in the expansive darkness. The shadows stretch and fold, transforming familiar forms into softened silhouettes. Gentle rather than threatening, a quirky, slightly humorous detail emerges. Someone has left a small figurine of a cat perched on the threshold, as though guarding the home from unseen mischief. You smile softly, imagining a modern security system replaced by feline vigilance. Even in ancient routines, subtle humor persists, woven into survival and domestic life with understated elegance. You trudge gently toward your resting place, the soft crunch of sand beneath your feet blending with distant, soothing sounds, the ripple of the Nile, the faint chatter of late-night guardians, and the subtle calls of owls and nightbirds. Each sound layers slowly, creating a hypnotic rhythm that is both calming and grounding. Settling on a reed mat in the corner of a small hut, you feel the textures pressing gently against your body, the coarseness of woven reeds, the warmth of earthen walls, the faintly cool touch of linen draped across your shoulders. You inhale deeply, the subtle scent of herbs, clay, and fading smoke mingling with your own warmth. The rhythm of life, here sun, river, labor, laughter, ritual, play, and gentle vigilance folds softly into your awareness. Outside, shadows move imperceptibly, a goat shifting in the corner of a pen, a cat stretching lazily, the distant flicker of lanterns carried home, the tactile sensation of the earth, the faint soundscape, and the smell of the night converge into a gentle, calming meditation. You sense the continuity of life, the delicate interweaving of sensory detail, and the quiet humor that threads through centuries of human experience. Historians still debate the extent of domestic lighting, bedtime rituals, and nighttime observances, but you feel the truth of the moment through sensation rather than record. The slow exhale of a village at rest, the gentle rhythm of survival, and the small, tender gestures that persist in every age. As you close your eyes, the village breathes softly around you. Shadows fold into themselves, sounds soften, and the tactile reminders of your day, the warmth of sun-baked stone, the texture of linen, the smooth touch of clay jars fade into a comforting, immersive awareness. The Nile whispers faintly in the distance, and the subtle rhythm of life continues. Patient, tender, and slightly humorous. Guiding your senses toward calm, you feel the gentle pulse of existence. Hear human and animal, stone and river, ritual and laughter all blending into a slow, soothing cadence. Even the smallest details, the tiniest gestures, and the quietest sounds become anchors, threading continuity and comfort through the night. You realize that survival, in every sense, is less about heroics and more about presence, awareness, and gentle adaptation. The night stretches softly around you. Your muscles relax, your breathing slows, and the hypnotic layering of sensations from earthy textures to distant, subtle sounds settle you into quiet repose. You notice the lingering humor, the tender rituals, and the intimate rhythms of life here, letting them wash over you like warm, sunlit water. Section 16. Markets and merchant melodies. Step into the bustling market just after sunrise, the warm lights spilling across sun-baked stone and dust-swept lanes. The air carries the scent of freshly baked bread, roasted fish, and sweet, sticky dates mingling with earthy hints of clay, straw, and the faint temps of river water drifting in from the Nile. You trudge slowly between stalls, aware of the texture of the uneven, sun-warmed ground beneath your sandals, the faint crunch of loose sand underfoot keeping you grounded in the rhythm of the market. Merchants call out in melodic, rhythmic tones, advertising grains, oils, small trinkets, and bowls of vibrant pigments. Each voice blends into a gentle, hypnotic chorus, like a low, comforting murmur, tugging at your attention without overwhelming it. You pause at a stall displaying clay jars, their surfaces smooth and cool, and lift one in your hands, feeling the reassuring weight of crafted earth against your palm. The tactile sensation is grounding, softly reminding you that even amidst chaos, human skill persists. Historians still argue how widespread exotic animals, like monkeys or small birds, were in everyday marketplaces. But here, a tiny, mischievous monkey perched atop a basket of figs seems completely natural, nibbling one with delicate precision and occasionally flicking its tail toward unsuspecting shoppers. A child darts past, laughing, scattering small grains across the stone floor, and a woman balances a basket atop her head with an effortless sway, the weight seemingly part of a practiced dance. The air hums with a layered rhythm, soft conversation, the tap of sandals, the rustle of linen robes, and the gentle clinking of ceramic jars. You inhale slowly, letting the mixture of earthy, smoky sink into your senses, weaving together sound, scent, and touch. A quirky moment draws your attention. A merchant juggles 3 small clay balls, occasionally letting one drop and catching it just in time, eliciting soft laughter from a nearby child. The humor is subtle, gentle, and entirely human, reminding you that even in a marketplace where survival and trade coexist, joy persists in the smallest gestures. You mimic the juggling motion clumsily, earning a quiet chuckle from a passerby. The sensation of clay brushing against your palm, combined with the warmth of the sun and the soft rhythm of life around you, slows your heartbeat in a hypnotic cadence. The market is also a stage of improvisation. A man adjusts his wares mid-call, balancing a clay jug with one hand while gesturing expansively with the other. Somewhere, a child imitates the merchant, mimicking his gestures with exaggerated precision, drawing soft laughter from passers-by. The sensory layering smooth clay, rough linen, warm sun. Gentle wind blends with humor and human rhythm into a tactile, immersive experience that lulls your awareness into slow, meditative attention. Nearby, women offer small treats to children, soft bread sprinkled with dates, tiny fish roasted over embers, and small clay vessels of sweet beer. The scents mix, the textures invite touch, and the subtle interplay of colors, golden grains, deep brown fish, soft red dates creates a visual harmony that complements the sensory richness of sound, smell, and texture. Historians still debate whether marketplaces were more centers of commerce, socialization, or ritual exchange. But in this moment, you feel all three as a seamless, comforting pulse. The sun climbs higher, warming your skin, highlighting the soft sheen of dust on stone and sand, and casting long, fluid shadows across the uneven paths. You move slowly, tracing textures with your hands, inhaling deeply, and letting the rhythm of market life, a slow, layered song of trade, touch, and gentle humor wash over you. Even as the market buzzes, there is a subtle, meditative cadence, a soft lull in motion, inviting you to observe, touch, inhale, and slowly become part of the sensory tapestry. By mid-morning, the market continues to pulse. The soft hum of voices, gentle laughter, clinking jars, and occasional bird calls coalescing into a layered, hypnotic rhythm. The scents linger, the textures remain vivid, and the subtle human humor, the dropped clay balls, the playful children, the wry smiles threads through your awareness, grounding you in presence and gentle awareness. Section 17, Riverside Reflection. You wander back to the Nile's edge in late afternoon, the water glinting gold and copper as the sun leans low on the horizon. Each ripple sends tiny flashes across your vision, a slow, mesmerizing pattern that blends movement, light, and sound into a calming rhythm. You trudge along the muddy banks carefully, toes sinking softly into the cool, yielding earth, the texture grounding you in the present moment. Faint scents of wet reeds, sun-warmed mud, and the subtle aroma of fish rising from the shallow edges mix with the lingering heat of the day. Nearby, a fisherman kneels, repairing a net with practiced patience. His hands move slowly, weaving fibers into a precise pattern. You crouch beside him, attempting to mimic the motion, feeling the rough texture of rope fibers against your fingertips, their coarseness offset by the rhythm of motion and breath. Historians still debate whether small-scale fishing was primarily sustenance, trade, or community pastime, but the physicality of it, the tactile, repetitive motion, is undeniably meditative. A small, humorous moment occurs as a mischievous child tosses a tiny fish back into the water after pretending to measure it. Laughing quietly at the startled fisherman, you smile softly, absorbing the gentle humor threaded through the rhythm of daily life. Even in moments of work or survival, the human impulse for play and amusement persists. You pause, tracing patterns in the mud with your fingers. Tiny shells, bits of reed, and subtle depressions from animal tracks create a miniature landscape, a tactile and visual puzzle that slows your awareness. Ducks paddle lazily by, occasionally disturbing the mirrored surface of the water, and their soft quacks blend with the murmur of the river, creating a gentle ASMR-like cadence. You feel the subtle pull of observation, noting how even small, almost imperceptible details, the shimmer of sunlight on a fish scale, the slight ripple from a moving leaf anchor, you in the present. The fisherman leans back, momentarily pausing his work, and you notice his calm, almost hypnotic breathing. You mimic him subconsciously, inhaling the warmth of the sun on your back and the cool, moist air rising from the river. Somewhere, a dog trots along the bank, its wet paws leaving soft impressions in the mud, and a cat slinks silently across sun-warmed rocks. The interplay of human, animal, and natural rhythm is quietly mesmerizing, each element contributing to the layered sensory experience. You watch the river glow as the sun lowers further, casting reflections like molten gold across the rippling surface. The texture of the mud beneath your hands, the faint stickiness of dried algae, and the soft, intermittent splash of tiny fish create a gentle tactile and auditory symphony. The subtle humor, soft human interaction, and gentle motions of wildlife enhance the hypnotic atmosphere, letting your senses drift along the river's flow. The Nile, patient and eternal, mirrors the sky, the village, and your own slow, reflective movements. You inhale the mingled scents of river, wet earth, and reeds, feeling the sensory layers merge into a meditative rhythm. Shadows stretch long across the banks, blending the tactile, visual, and auditory experiences into one seamless, calming pattern. Even minor mishaps, a splash from a clumsy step, a fish escaping your gaze, blend gently into the slow pulse of riverside life. By the time dusk settles fully, the water's glow softens, reeds rustle faintly in the evening breeze, and the subtle rhythm of daily life, animal, and natural blends into a slow, immersive meditation. You trudge slowly back along the bank, each step anchoring you further in the layered sensory tapestry of reflection, rhythm, and gentle humor. Section 18, Evening Stories. Night drapes itself gently over the village, cooling stone, mud, and river into shades of deep indigo and soft lavender. You trudge toward a small fire in the village square, its gentle warmth radiating into your body, soft against the cooling air. The aroma of dried herbs and roasted grains drifts up, blending with the faintly sweet scent of nearby papyrus and the earthy temps of the Nile. Your feet crunch softly on sand and stone, each step a reminder of your presence within this layered sensory world. Villagers gather around the fire, settling slowly onto woven mats or low stones. An elder begins a tale, his voice soft, deliberate, and hypnotic. The cadence of storytelling, the rise and fall, the rhythmic pauses, the occasional chuckle draws you in, each word layering atop the gentle crackle of the fire. You notice a quirky detail. A minor character in the story is a cat whose mischief causes chaos, eliciting soft, shared laughter from listeners. Historians still debate whether such stories served primarily educational, religious, or entertainment purposes. But the hypnotic effect is immediate and immersive. Children curl close to their parents, leaning into the warmth of shared body heat. Adults murmur softly in appreciation or amusement. You trace textures, the roughness of mats beneath your palms, the warmth of firelight on skin, the gentle coarseness of woven clothing, layering tactile, visual, and olfactory sensations into a slow, meditative experience. The rhythmic layering continues. The crackle of the fire, soft laughter, gentle storytelling, distant murmur of the river, occasional calls of night birds. The gentle humor woven into the story, unexpected mishaps, playful antics softens your mind, blending with the tactile warmth and subtle sense to lull your senses into calm awareness. You inhale deeply, feeling the heat of the fire, the cool night air, and the faint aromas of herbs and grains mingle in your chest. The hypnotic cadence of storytelling, human interaction, tactile texture, and ambient sound pulls you gently toward calm, reflective focus. The narrative carries a subtle lesson. Observation, patience, and shared laughter are as vital as food or water for sustaining life. As the fire's shadows stretch long and merge with the soft indigo of night, the village exhales gently, each sensory details, sound, smell, touch, movement folding into your awareness. Even the faint humor, minor interruptions, and playful mischief create gentle anchors for calm, layering presence, reflection, and subtle meditation. By the time the stories conclude, the village and river, humans and animals, fire and night, all blend into a slow, immersive rhythm. You trudge back to your resting place, each step reinforcing presence and calm. Your senses, layered with textures, scents, and sounds, settle into gentle lull, guiding your body and mind toward rest. The village exhales softly, and you follow its rhythm, sinking deeper into calm. The day, full of sun, sand, Nile, laughter, labor, and ritual, folds gently into memory, each sensation softening into a quiet hum at the edge of awareness. The warmth of sun-warmed stone, the texture of linen, the subtle sense of herbs and smoke all linger, inviting a deep, languid breath. You feel the pulse of life here slowing, each heartbeat in sync with the river, the wind through reeds, and the distant murmur of nocturnal creatures. Tiny gestures, a cat stretching, a child's soft laughter, a low drum fading into night blend, seamlessly with the textures and scents surrounding you, creating a hypnotic rhythm. The world is vast yet intimate, a slow melody of presence, adaptation, and gentle humor. Your muscles loosen, your mind softens, and even the faint awareness of past danger, the crocodile lurking. The sun's relentless heat, the river's sharp edge folds into distant memory, softened by layers of human ingenuity, resilience, and quiet observation. You notice how each small detail, the whisper of a reed pen, the coolness of mud, the scent of baked bread anchors you in the gentle pulse of existence. As eyelids grow heavy, the village and river, sun and shadows, cats and humans, lull you into calm awareness. The rhythm of daily life, of survival, of laughter, of ritual, all blends into a seamless, tender tapestry. You feel held by centuries of human experience, by the gentle insistence of routine, by the enduring humor of small gestures and subtle adaptations. Let your breath lengthen, your body soften, and your mind drift through this slow, immersive world. The river whispers, the Nile glimmers faintly in your imagination, and the village settles into night. You are part of its quiet rhythm now, gently, tenderly, completely, tenderly, completely.